Hello, dear friends. If the philosophy of censorship could be summarized in a single statement, it would be this: we cannot trust your own mind. Opinion piece. Critical mass. Activation system. Gigantic endgame. New era of freedom. Incorruptible justice. Economy of abundance. Physics of consciousness. Dissolution of bureaucracy. Let's start. Critical mass is the moment when a sufficient number of individuals adopt a behavior, idea, or practice, and that change then becomes visible and spreads rapidly throughout the system. Guardian Daniel speaks of the creative power of critical mass, the quantum effect of awakening, the collective focus, our role as digital beacons, the design of cognitive operation, and the metaphysical activation system. Physics of consciousness. In recent years, we have endured the apparatus of the global transition with cold, logical facts. However, behind all these clues manipulated by the coalition, there is an even more powerful dimension: human consciousness. Many sovereignists underestimate even the proven scientific fact that thought and deep conviction shape physical matter. Modern quantum physics demonstrates this with the double-slit experiment, combined with the placebo effect and the discoveries of epigenetics. One thing is certain: reality is not merely an accident, but the exact reflection of our collective approach. Furthermore, the morphogenetic field and hundredth money principles describe an invisible energetic information network that connects all members of a species. Once a critical mass within a group solidifies a new activity, that consciousness abruptly leaps to the entire remaining population at a specific tipping point, without physical contact, and the morphogenetic field is reprogrammed in real time. At this interface, the strategic significance of each sovereignist becomes visible through all channels. You are not passive recipients of news, but active nodes of the coalition. Processing filter. By absorbing the facts and logical structures of these dispatches within yourselves, you process the information and transform collective existential anxiety into an absolute and unshakable certainty. Frequency catalysts. Each of you who reads, understands, and shares these reports with inner calm bites back the fear of the matrix, of its energetic sustenance within the morphogenetic field. Irreplaceable network. Without the decentralized sovereignists who transmit and share these truths, the coalition could not stably anchor the new infrastructure within the civil domain. You are the living foundation upon which the new era of freedom is being built. This gigantic endgame is a unified operation between the allied leadership in the shadows and your creative power in the light. The apparatus in orbit is fully operational, but your awakened mind is the apparatus that fine-tunes the planet. Every time a piece of authentic information is shared, every stabilizing word within your family, and every second of inner sanctity brings the tipping point of liberation closer at the speed of light. You are needed, heard, and irreplaceable. Rejoice in the awakening of your strength. The script is turning its final page of enjoy. Post-governmental era. Guardian Daniel discusses the post-governmental era following the collapse and revelation. In a strategic futures report about the dissolution of bureaucracies and the establishment of constitutional law. The post-governmental era will represent the ultimate realization of humanity's evolutionary leap. With the controlled demolition of governmental structures during the strategic crisis, human beings will finally be freed from external domination. Artificial intelligence will not rule over humanity, but rather manage an underlying system of abundance that guarantee people unprecedented freedom to dedicate themselves to creativity, philosophy, and personal optimization. The new reality will shift from scarcity to an algorithm-based approach. Humanity will have moved beyond the paradigm of scarcity, with the implementation of decentralized zero-point energy, vertical farming systems, and autonomous robotics driving the cost of living near zero. This is a path toward self-governance. After the coordinated collapse of the debt-based fiduciary system and fossil fuel-based geopolitics, the cost of living will have been driven to near zero by the application of decentralized zero-point energy, all-out vertical farming systems, and autonomous robotics. In this economy of abundance, the raison d'etat for countries and the traditional judicial system will disintegrate. Historically, state institutions and legal frameworks functioned to manage the distribution of conflicts and regulate scarce resources. When scarcity is eliminated, the need for a central monopoly on authority to wield power evaporates. The era of guerrilla politicians and mistake-prone bureaucracies will then officially end. Incorruptible justice is based on constitutional law moderated by artificial intelligence. The biggest structural flaw in the inherited judicial system is its inherent subjectivity, making it vulnerable to political influence, judicial bias, and unequal access due to financial barriers. In this new reality, the judiciary will be replaced by a neutral and decentralized core of open-source artificial intelligence. This judicial intelligence will be programmed and strictly restricted to inalienable human rights, the evolving constitutions of diverse cultures, and universal ethical protocols. Civil disputes that consumed years and millions of dollars in the old world will be resolved in real time. Litigants will input their evidence and objective data into the system. The artificial intelligence will analyze the facts with absolute objectivity, based solely on the evidence, and deliver a transparent and unalterable judgment in a matter of seconds. This will eliminate favoritism toward the elite or corporate lobbying groups. Justice will be completely free, identical, and instantly accessible to every human being at any time. Dissolution of the bureaucracy or the invisible state. Public administration will cease to be an instrument of observation and obligation. It will have been reduced to a process that operates silently in the background, comparable to the operating system of a quantum computer. The distribution of a universal high income, infrastructure planning, environmental monitoring, and the organization of robotic fleets will be handled entirely automatically. Citizens will have no need to interact with the authorities. Citizens will directly formulate their social projects or long-term goals. AI will verify these proposals in milliseconds to assess their physical feasibility, environmental sustainability, and constitutional compliance, executing these projects simply through an autonomous protective layer. Safeguard against technocracy. Open source as a life insurance policy. Through a decentralized architecture, the risk inherent in this structural design will be avoided, such as the exploitation of code by a technocratic elite to establish a totalitarian dictatorship of artificial intelligence. The source code for administrative and judicial intelligence will not run on centralized servers of any corporation or state entity. It will be completely open source and distributed through decentralized global networks, secured against any unauthorized manipulation. Curious. Spielberg on aliens. I am convinced, that they have been here and that they are here, he said in quotes. Among the highlights of the second batch of declassified user files, it is the dawning of a UAP. Greenland's ice reveals that humans have been contaminating the planet with mercury for 4,000 years. Researchers at the Karolinska Institute in Sweden have shown that sharing a home with cats improves the health of children with asthma and allergies. Middle East. The US and Iran reached a peace agreement that will allow the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. The price of oil plummets after the announcement of the agreement. Trump announces the lifting of the US naval blockade on Iran. Iran wants that agreement is in jeopardy if the US does not fulfill its commitment in Lebanon. Trump states that Israel's attack on Beirut should not have happened. Trump calls on Israel and Iran to immediately cease fire. Europe. The new EU Migration Pact comes into force amid doubts about its implementation. Switzerland rejects limiting its population to 10 million to reduce immigration. Americas. Mexico and the US launch a new security plan. Petro says that collaboration with the US can make the Americas great again, in quotes. Road blockades are diminishing. In some areas of Bolivia, Argentina faces worrying levels of poverty. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.